everyone. Welcome to Divergent Discussion Live. Today I am joined by Sarah Middleton, who is a social worker and somatic coach. And we are going to be talking about PDA, pathological demand avoidance, if you want the clinical term. This topic gets discussed a lot in the autistic world and in the neurodivergent world. Hi.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I apologize. I sound a little croaky because I'm recovering from a cold that won't leave me alone.
I feel people around me have been getting it and it's been lasting forever.
And how are you doing?
Yeah, all right. It's been a lot going on. That's why I was telling you earlier. I think that's why I like these being so casual. I feel like I can put myself into a very formal spot when I jump on here and trying hard to break that.
I hear you, and I love this because this is good practice for me too. I do the exact same thing, and I actually think it stops me from doing things. I really appreciate that, and I feel like the more of us who do it and be honest and real, the more it encourages people and gives permission to do it.
I think over my whole life, just being a high masker, I've perfected that very well. So unmasking is a whole other thing.
I feel you. I'm getting emotional about it. I find the less I mask and the more I show up in the moment, the more I'm not worried about not being sensitive or emotional. And I've noticed that it's almost like my body just says, oh, this feels good, or this feels really resonant. And the tears kind of prickle in my eyes. Yeah.
I can relate to that very much. It's that hard realization that we can actually just be ourselves and it's okay. I've lived a life of thinking everything that I do naturally is wrong. It's a big realization, an emotional one. It's interesting to talk to you today about that. But before we head into that, I ask everyone what their favorite sensory tool or fidget, or doesn't even have to be a fidget, just something that you find helpful. I usually have mine with me, but I was gonna pick up my kitten because usually my kitten sits on my lap and I just pat her. And we just got a new kitten. I was gonna put him on me, but he's running around now, so I can't.
So your favorite sensory support has got legs.
He does, and it runs away from me.
And a mind of his own. Well, mine's got legs. I'm not sure about a mind of his own. So this is actually a jade elephant.
That is so
cute. It's beautiful and smooth. Trunks up for good luck. It sits on my desk along with this one, which is not so smooth. This is a rose quartz.
But smooth. It's not squishy.
They're rock. They're crystal rock, jade stone. They're very hard, but that one's not smooth. It's beautiful to look at. It's almost like visually, it's a beautiful stem. But to pick up, I don't like it so much. But this one to pick up, and then I've got another thing that I use, which is essential oil hand cream. So I put that on because I'm sitting at my desk at the moment. When I'm in a meeting or seeing a client, I put this on and I'm just like rubbing my hands and I get the aroma, but also the sensory experience of smoother hands.
That is so cool. I've never heard of someone doing that, but it makes total sense because right now I'm fidgeting with this pen, but I do fidget a lot and I feel like that would be a nice sort of sensation to
rubbing hand cream in. You can sort of really take your time. I think I first learned about it before I even knew that I was neurodivergent through a mindfulness course that I was doing. And I discovered I really liked it. And it stuck with me. And I also truly dislike the sensory experience of dry hands.
So I guess a majority of people watch the live after the fact. So anyone who has any questions, feel free to comment them down below. I think PDA, or pathological demand avoidance as a clinical term, is discussed a lot. I know that a lot of parents will use that term quite frequently. I think it can be super helpful in, understanding, I guess, especially our kids, when they're interacting with new people, you can use the term and people can kind of gauge how to interact with them a little bit and make it more beneficial. I'm really interested to hear from you about it all today and your nervous system pyramid.
Yeah, the escalation pyramid, the nervous system escalation pyramid.
Yeah.
Yes, I had the exact same response when I first was introduced to the PDA pyramid, and it came from the source that I'm aware of is the UK PDA Society, their website. Although if I go looking for it, it's actually quite tricky to find. I feel like they need it much more prominent because I think it's incredible. But I guess they've got so much information in there. So I sort of discovered it, and initially I thought, wow, we can make sense of things in this way, because when I was first learning about PDA, which was about 2.5 years ago, I started, and it was really interesting because I decided to open my practice as a social worker supporting parents of neurodivergent children before I really knew what PDA was. So I was kind of like autism, ADHD was mainly what I knew. And we had lived experience. And it was through that lived experience of my child's diagnosis, then discovering my own ADHD profile and navigating, dare I say, I don't know if we need to say the funding sources. I don't want to give that, I don't want to give them any airtime at the moment.
My heart rate goes up whenever I hear that.
I don't think we need that this morning. So, navigating all of that before it is what it is now, I was deep diving to learn everything I could about the neurodiversity affirming perspective. Being a social worker, and I know you've done social work as well, being a social worker, we're already looking at things through the social model of disability. So the medical model stuff, they couldn't sell it to me, Jess.
When you first hear it, you're like, oh.
Yeah,
and I guess that is also PD.
Like I'd worked in hospitals as well and done the medical model and couldn't stand being in that kind of way of thinking as who I am, but as a social worker. So, that was never going to work. So I went looking for better stuff. And then I discovered how hard it was and what rubbish you find when you Google things.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
We've all done it. I think it's the first thing you do when you receive your child's diagnosis.
Yeah.
But I think you kind of Google everything and it's just not, it shouldn't,
it's horrible. If you do that, that's not fun. And then I realized it's going to take better research skills, find people who are in the know that I could trust to connect me with useful resources and information. Anyway, I realized if it's this hard for a social worker to work it out, a social worker who's worked in schools with children, in counselling, mental health, if it's this hard for me with my background, how are other people doing it?
Yeah.
And so that's why I opened my practice, thinking I might as well do something with that and share it with other people, because it became like my special interest, hyper focus, just learning so much. And my style is conversational as well, so having great conversations with people.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then it's wild, but basically 95% of the people who have come to see me in my practice in the last 2.5 years would be PDA families.
Yeah.
New deep dive, immersive learning. I can see my special interest as well. Yeah.
Casey said I got my diagnosis first. Google adult autism. None was helpful. Yep.
Absolutely. And then Google PDA, probably even worse. So yeah, that's how I ended up learning about PDA, because it was my curiosity, and also these families who were having a really tough time. Things weren't adding up, and what they were being told to do by their health professionals or pediatrician wasn't working. And they were really stressed, really distressed. And then following that, I discovered the PDA in my own household.
Like a full circle moment, isn't it? When you realise.
It didn't take too long for me to join the dots, but it's so interesting how that happens. I still think it's quite incredible that I hardly ever see any families who don't have a PDA profile within the family. I've now been the person many times to say, have you heard of PDA?
Yeah.
And support people through finding the good stuff.
Because there's a lot of not good stuff out there. Casey just said that PDA was how I knew I was autistic. I searched ODD versus PDA. Yeah, I guess a lot of people were diagnosed before PDA was ever like well known with ODD, which is interesting. Because growing up, I heard that term when I was at school, and it was always kids that were labeled bad kids, which is horrible.
Yeah, it's not a nice label, is it? Neither is PDA. Hey, Elise. So many of us had a time where we were just ADHD.
And then it trickled down.
I feel like it's like the top of the slide for a lot of us. We get on it and then, woo, okay. Maybe at the end of the slide we're ADHD PDAers or something like that.
Yeah. The full spectrum. I think a lot of people also say it starts at anxiety, like social anxiety. Just sort of,
it's not at the top at all, is it? No. For me, it was generalized anxiety. Just a general anxiety about life.
I think that's a lot of females that have gone through something and gone to the doctors and, yep, that's anxiety. Yep.
Or just a bit, a bit fatigued, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Autoimmune conditions. I mean, we could go on. That's not the rabbit hole we're going down today, though, is it?
We could very easily slip into that rabbit hole. A lot of these discussions, they could sway off so easily, and it's okay if they do. I know.
It's okay. But let's come back to my love of the PDA pyramid.
Yes, let's do that.
Help me reconnect with that.
You mentioned a lot of families presenting with PDA, and then you noticed in your own household that sparked research, special interest.
And further conversations. We already had some funding, so I was able to access some great supports who are PDA informed, who were years ahead of where we were at. The lived experience supports, or the lived experience professionals, it's just a game changer. It was like, oh, thank goodness you really do get it. The trust that I felt in talking with them and that they knew, and particularly because they were helping a lot of families with PDA in the family as well. And then I discovered the nervous system pyramid for the PDA escalation. Because the thing is, all of these words come at you when you first discover it. They're bouncing around: demands, low demands, anxiety. I don't even use the official term for PDA anymore. I use persistent drive for autonomy. Autonomy comes, declarative language. Like, it's almost like these words are just kind of bouncing. And how do you make sense of it? And with the pyramid, pretty much all the words were on the pyramid. I'm like, well, this is good. They're all in one place.
Yeah, this makes sense.
And then I think it's really interesting, and I know that we don't have the visual here right now, but essentially it's a pyramid. We have sections of it that go upwards towards what we would call panic. At the very top of the pyramid, we're really talking about a panic attack. We've got the words fight, flight, freeze up there. That was even a bit of an aha moment for me when it was described as a panic attack.
Yeah.
I've experienced panic attacks, and I know that I have no control over what I'm doing during a panic attack.
Yeah, it's so interesting when I guess I still can't separate meltdown and panic attack for myself when people use the terms. I know meltdowns are kind of like a full body experience. Then again, panic attacks that I've experienced have been full body, and it's very confusing. So I guess it's interesting that they use panic attack at the top. Maybe I should ask you this. PDA is not necessarily a neurodivergent thing or an autistic thing. Is that correct? It's necessarily an autistic thing.
Yes, not necessarily. Yeah, this is contentious, but my understanding is that with the knowledge we have, it could sit alongside any neurodivergence, or possibly as its own. I think it's most commonly associated with autism, and we see a lot of PDAs who are autistic. But I think the current understanding is the research kind of shows that it's not just sitting with autism.
I've seen a few articles recently. This term has, only recently sort of surfaced, and you mentioned 2.5 years ago. Probably over the last 2 years, it's become more mainstream. We're seeing it more on Instagram and all those things. And I think parents are jumping on that and using that term quite frequently. I hear a lot of people saying that it's a PDA profile of autism. So
yeah,
that kind of confuses a lot of people because it's like, is that its own diagnosis? I think we have to step back a little bit and go, this is just one of those things where it's a tool to support your family to interact with other people and to understand them better. What's your experience on that?
Yeah, I think that where we're at in terms of understanding is so varied.
Yes.
And we need more information. But I also think we really need to pay attention to what we do and don't have in terms of research. I remember when I was doing social work, they talked about it being an art and a science. And I hold both of those because I believe in our intuition about what we need. And as parents, our intuition about our children's needs and what's going on. All of this information and research can help give us clue. Mm-hmm. And that research is reflective of, you know, like larger sample sizes. It's not individual. It's maybe population level or whatever. So I always think that science is constantly evolving. Research is evolving. Unfortunately, a lot of the research money has been directed towards studying observable indicators of, for example, autism, PDA, and not necessarily understanding the lived experience. That's shifting a lot. But then if we were to say, well, you have to just follow the research or you have to just believe this, what if the research is being done without understanding really what the experience has been internally, or without consulting with actual autistic or PDA or ADHD folk?
Yes.
So I think that, yes, we want to go with, if we're talking about trying to share facts, we want to go with what our best understanding is research-wise. Ideally, we're looking at the kind of research that is co-designed by people with lived experience, or is even done by people with lived experience. Absolutely, that is the ultimate. Yes. And we are getting more and more of that. So it just depends on what we're looking for, whether we can actually find it. Having said that, I feel like all of that information gives us some starting points to go, how does that fit with what my child experiences or with what I experience, to understand ourselves better, because I think we all are the experts in our own lives. For example, the PDA pyramid, I like it because it has helped me to visualize, but also to get a sense of the internal experience and look at both the external, like the behaviors you might see. For example, there's one section that talks about reduced meaningful conversation and withdrawal into fantasy. I used to think my little PDA, didn't really see that. He's quite direct, so he just says it how it is. But the other day, I attempted to bring up a conversation that he didn't want to have, that he felt uncomfortable about, that I thought we needed to have related to school.
Yeah. And
he had a little Lego rocket ship. He was showing me that, and I thought, oh, great, we'll just bring up this school stuff. And I think he was like, I'd rather you didn't. So he's got his Lego rocket ship, and I'm saying, oh, da, 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 da. And he says, I'm in the rocket ship. And I'm like, oh, okay. I try again, just thinking, oh, he's just, not really engaging with me. He goes, I'm in here. And he points to the little Lego person inside the rocket ship. And I just had this moment, because I'd been talking about, I did this little recording of an explanation of the pyramid. I had this moment of, oh, this is reduced meaningful conversation and withdrawal into fantasy. It's exactly what's happening. And it was so subtle but I'm like, this is actually happening. They've got it on the pyramid and I can see it and make the connection. The thing that's helpful in that is that the pyramid shows us that if we don't reduce demands or implement some support and regulation at that point in time, we're going to keep on going up towards panic.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Jess, but that's not where I wanted to head before school.
I think with school in itself, like, this could be a whole other topic, but I see a lot of people in our family, the very quick escalation towards panic surrounding school and transitioning to school and things like that. So I think this pyramid would be super beneficial. Like, I honestly think that I need to print it out and put it on our front door or something just before we're leaving. They're very loud and I tried to mute myself before, but if you hear
that. What? I can't hear it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, visual would be super beneficial. I guess in the moment as well, if our kids are not coping and moving up that escalation, you see the signs, but also I'm finding it's almost like a whole family approach when it comes to it. If you all neurodivergent and you've all got your needs that, can get triggered by certain things, screaming can trigger me quite frequently. If I am dysregulated, I'm not thinking straight. So if I had that visual there, it's a very simple, like, look at this is what's going on. This is move away from that panic. And I think that's important with a lot of neurodivergent people, is having that visual available in an easy to understand way. So yeah, I think it's really cool.
I like that idea of sticking it up. I haven't done that, but I've got it in a little folder. If I'm going out to a school meeting supporting a family, then I've got a folder of bits and pieces and the pyramids in there, because if we're having a conversation about what's going on for the young person, I find that doing it with the context of the pyramid really helps. I don't know if you've witnessed this, but in conversations, what can happen is the adults are actually feeling a little overwhelmed. And you talked about when adults are feeling overwhelmed, and it's hard to organize your thoughts. And it can feel confusing as to what's going on, particularly with PDA, because it really does turn a lot of the traditional ideas about supporting kids' behavior on its head.
Yes.
So that's all going on. And I feel like when we bring in that context of the pyramid and we have a visual and we start to be able to say, oh, okay, you're seeing this. I'm wondering if she's here. Because the other thing that happens is we've got calm and able right down the bottom of the pyramid. When I talk about it with people, they often recognize the young person's not in calm and able, or maybe they haven't even woken up in calm and able. No. And so what we're doing is layering on the demands or the stresses. Get some clothes on, brush teeth, get your school bag, whatever it might be. By the time the child's in the classroom, they're up the pyramid.
Yes.
And so what they're needing is regulation and support. And what they're getting is further demands.
Yeah. And
so we're not getting down to that calm and able space where we see our kids at their best.
Yes, you worded that so well just then. I feel like the mornings have so many demands. I know from personal experience, waking up in the morning, I don't want anyone telling me what to do. You just need to sort of adjust and wake up fully. I need my coffee, or those little tools that you give to yourself, but our kids need those too. I think it's really interesting when I started learning about this and sort of moving the demands away, like a simple thing like I often, if I know that we're having a hard week, I will often get my daughter dressed into her school uniform the night before, not the uncomfortable one like tracksuit pants and things, and that alleviates that demand in the morning. And I think once you do small things like that, and also removing demands that aren't necessary in the mornings, like making the bed, or simple things that aren't huge deals if they don't do them, has just transformed our lives, our mornings. Obviously, they're still difficult because school is another thing, but I was just going to have a look. There was a few comments in here. Casey said, I wish all parents were told when kids were given diagnosis how high the likelihood of mum and dad also being neurodivergent. This will help so much more. Yes. And I don't think anyone ever broached that topic with me when we were going through it. Maybe more so nowadays they are. I don't even know. But yeah.
I think that sometimes they also might be concerned about how the parents will respond.
It's a highly emotional time in that diagnosis space and assessment space, if you approach that topic. But maybe if it was more of like a general, like we say this to every single person, they might not feel so targeted, I guess, even though it's not targeting. And then like, I didn't even like consider that. And I don't even know how I would have reacted back then. This was 6 years ago when I did have that pathological medical model of everything in my mind, because that's all I could access on the internet. And all I learned. ADHD, our visual, we need to see it. Out of sight, out of mind. Yes.
Absolutely.
We have our regulation charts on the wall with little animals. So when we're feeling like a sloth, what do we do to help us? Things like that. And I think that's so helpful, especially for me. I need help. Oh, we can look over here.
Can you hear that?
There's a car alarm.
Unlucky.
Oh,
Probably bad for you.
I'm getting distracted. Sorry.
Do you want to
Might have
mute?
been.
I can riff a bit more on the PDA
Oh, it's
pyramid.
fun. You continue.
Just so folks know, I actually have a recording where I talk about the PDA pyramid and explain it. It's free. You can grab it from my link in bio. But it's such a great resource to also be able to explain, whether it's like watching the video or actually you getting the pyramid yourself from the UK PDA Society and sitting with other people to explain it. And you might be able to show them, you know, this is what my child, these are some of the things they commonly do. Or if you're talking with a teacher, you might say, what do you notice at school? I know that for a lot of PDAs, we're talking about high masking, where schools say they're fine or they're a delight to have in class.
Yeah.
And we see all of the fallout at home.
Mm-hmm.
So the pyramid's also helpful for explaining masking, because there's a section that says taking control or complete compliance with later breakdown. For us parents who have high masking kids to be able to describe, they can get so far up the pyramid that they're not feeling calm and able, but they will comply and do everything you ask of them whilst experiencing heightened stress and barely hanging in there. Yeah.
Would they change it to fight, flight, freeze, comply? Because I feel like that should be one of them.
The fawning. Yeah, because it's fight, flight, freeze.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right.
It is really fawning, isn't it? The complete compliance. It's fawning. And that is actually on the pyramid, it's just one step down from the panic attack and the fight, flight, freeze.
Yes. Yeah. I think a visual like that would be great to take to like a school and help teachers understand it better. I think that when you throw all these terms at teachers, those meetings are very short. They don't have very much time. You throw all these terms, they instantly go, oh no, they don't do that here. They're very easily like, no, that's not a thing. If you have this pyramid and you can just be open to listening to explaining this, that can be so helpful.
Or send them my video and say, send it before you meet with them and say, if you could watch this before, I'd love to look at the pyramid together when we meet. Giving them homework. But I actually find it can go better when you're not trying to explain it in the moment. Teachers like their autonomy, their own space, they need to process. Trying to explain something in a meeting where there is like, it's short on time, etc.
Yeah.
If they can take some control over their own process and understanding, and maybe now watch it and then think, oh, I want to now understand this and go looking for that, it can set things up well to take a printout of the pyramid in and have a chat. You might even say, I'd love for you to watch this because I'd really like to hear what you're noticing at school and how we could map it on the pyramid, something like that.
Yeah. And I think those meetings often happen after something has gone wrong at the school. I generally see preventative measures, reactive measures rather than preventative. But this can be something, you know, if you're going into school and have a new teacher or something, you can be like, let's watch this before we start, and hopefully it'll help you understand quite a few of your children in your class as well. So it can be very beneficial to them. You mentioned that people can go to your page and the link in your bio, that's where the video is. That would be super. Casey said, I'm going to do that. I think that is going to be super beneficial for a lot of people. Did you want to mention anything else that you had on offer in your space at the moment, your support of neurodivergent?
I just saw a question about missed. What is this pyramid? Can I print it out? Yes, you can. It's available at the UK PDA Society. I've made a video explaining it, so you can get that from my link in bio. Go search up the UK PDA Society pyramid. It's a bit tricky to find.
Okay.
That's actually a good point. You know what? I probably need to do that. Grab the copy of the actual physical pyramid that you can print out and stick it in my email where I send out the recording.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a good idea. I'll do that. So it's all there together. So with the recording, it's free, but I also get people to share their email address so that I can then follow up and share some more explanations of how I've seen it. So, other things in the space, the other things I'm offering, we've got an interoception workshop coming up tomorrow night, which is the Parent Collective. I have a membership group for parents who are interested in talking about education, learning, and navigating all of that with neurodivergent children. It's a very safe space for those of us who are neurodivergent parents as well. We have body doubling, monthly catch-ups, and a seasonal workshop. Our seasonal workshop is this interoception one with Kimberly Howard, who's a pediatric OT. That'll be pretty casual, kind of like this in a sense of Kim will share some information, but then we'll have chats about things.
Yeah, I'm seeing everyone's like, I'll take it. How do I get your email? So after the live in my stories, I'll put all of the things you've mentioned today and hopefully lead them to the better supports. I'm very interested in interoception. I didn't know that was on.
You can join the Parent Collective for $10 a month or $15 for a one-off. Join us for the workshop tomorrow night. If you go to my bio on Instagram, the link there, you'll find everything.
So it's probably here or here. I can't remember where it is, but if anyone wants to go to your page, click here. But thank you so much for coming live with me and chatting everything to do with neurodivergence. I think I love these sessions and helping people access the right supports. And obviously, supports from lived experience is just top tier, and I'm so glad that we can share that today. Thank you so much for explaining all of that. I'm definitely going to be printing out that pyramid for myself.
Good. I'm going to go grab it and make sure that it's included with the mini masterclass on the PDA pyramid as well.
Oh,
thanks so much for having me. It's been really good to chat.
I'll speak to you later. Bye, everyone.